So yeah, I thought it'd be nice to come down here during a sunset to talk about my bookish calendar. So have another look at the sun before I put the phone down. There it goes, settling down for the evening and giving the baton to the moon. So yeah, I wanted to talk about my bookish calendar. So basically, I thought it would be interesting to talk about what I'm going to do each month, and I've propped my phone here hoping that I'm going to destroy the wind coming back, because it's not a very strong breeze, but it's there, so I think you'll hear it on the recording if I don't put the phone here. So this is my attempt to cater for that. So it's being propped up by the pebbles. Right, so this is going out in September, so it's now September, and I am treating my September this year in 2024 as a chance to catch up a little bit with some of the things I've wanted to read and haven't been able to read because of book events. So that means that I've decided not to do Shorty September, even though I really like Shorty September. And when we get round to September next year in this conversation, I will probably be doing Shorty September in 2025. So what am I going to do in each month coming up? So September, as I say, is catching up month. October, I'm going to do a new thing that I've already talked about pretty much immediately after Horror Mayhem. I talked about spooky shorts. So to celebrate Halloween and spooky month, and again to honour Scott, who, if you know the channel, know this corner of BookTube, you know that we lost him earlier in the year. I'm going to carry on the spirit of Horror Mayhem in October with an event I'm calling Spooky Shorts. So that's for Scott. So I'm going to be reading short stories with a horror tinge in October. In November, again, this is another reference to Scott. I'm going to treat November as New Worlds November. Whether or not it's official or non-official, I'm going to be reading science fiction in November because of New Worlds November, which was an event that Scott started with Becky. Becky and Scott started that, the Bookish Bryants. I'll link their channel below. So I'm going to do that New Worlds November, but I'm also going to combine that with the banned books catch up, and I'm going to be reading like Brave New World. I'll do a video on the Saga comics and Handmaid's Tale probably, so that kind of thing. So it'll be science fiction, but I'll also be linking the banned books project because I'm going to try and catch up with that. In December, again, I'll be trying to catch up with the banned books project and some of the things I want to read. Plus, I'm going to restart Winter of Wyndham, and I wasn't going to actually, but I'm doing this as a shout out tribute mention of Alice, because again we lost Alice this year. We've lost two significant people in our community this year, so Winter of Wyndham is happening again for that, because that was something that me and Alice talked about to each other a lot. So read some John Wyndham with me in winter, so that's December, January and February. January is a bit of an open month, so we'll see how we get on with that. Probably more catch up, hopefully more Adrian Tchaikovsky, to be fair. February, I've decided, again bouncing off Scott, but I just think it's a good idea because I don't focus on this enough. From now on, my reading in February is going to be fantasy February. So the reference to Scott is that Scott and Becky did a February fantasy event a little while ago, but I'm just going to read fantasy books in February. So there's a few things I need to catch up on anyway, but also in general, it is something I love reading. I just don't read enough of it. So February is going to be fantasy month for me every single year. March and April, I'm not really sure about, so I'm keeping that open for a minute. But let me know if there's something I should be doing in March and April. May is Horror Mayhem again. So again, whether it's official or unofficial, so I don't know if the event will be happening again, but I'm going to be reading horror in May. June, I'll carry on with June on the Range because I've enjoyed discovering westerns, and I've got a few things in mind. I bought something yesterday actually, which I'm going to read next June. It's like a feminist western book which I've never heard of before. That looks interesting. So I got that in a charity shop, and that's worth looking at. So I'm going to be reading westerns in June. July is Rocket Summer. I'm pretty sure Mike's going to do that again. So Rocket Summer, some more science fiction in July next year. August next year is Garb August. And then we're back to September again next year, which is the Shorty September event, which I'll definitely do next year. So there's a couple of question marks. I don't know what I'm going to do with the Storathon next year, and I'm tempted to reshape it so that I start something that's bouncing off that, in respect to that, that's caters more to how I read. So I will possibly do that, but I'm going to think about that for a while before I announce that. So the Storathon thing, not sure, because I love this Storathon event. I love watching the other co-hosts videos about it. I love reading history, but yeah, I've really failed at that this year. So I've got that in mind. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. So that's my bookish calendar for the next little while. So there's some things that are always going to be the case. There's at least, I think, 5 months that are pretty secure for each year. You know, every year I'll be doing that kind of thing. So it's kind of nice, but I've got lots of room around that. Also, whenever I do an event, I don't do every single book that I read in that month is tied to that event. So I've always got room to wiggle anyway. But that's what I'm going to do. So let me know what you think of that. And yeah, what a beautiful sunset. It's a nice day today. It's not like blazing hot, but it's hot enough so that there's still a couple of people, topless men around. There's still a couple of topless men around, like you get in Pompey. I was going to make a comment, actually. I was going to make this comment before we move on, that when I was in New Orleans it was hot, but the one thing I didn't see, which you see in England all the time, is men with their tops off. You get a lot of that. As soon as it gets warm, it seems like every young male in Portsmouth takes their top off and wanders around the city, especially the beach. Anyway, let me know what you think of that, and enjoy the beach for as long as it stays warm.